All right, going on to our first story now. The Auditor General, that's Kimi Makwetu, says there has not been much progress in the handling of finances at South Africa's municipalities. In fact, he reports that fruitless and wasteful expenditure amounted to over 32 billion rand due to fraud and corruption in the past financial year. Our very own Mbongeni Muthwa is, of course, standing by and tracking this story for us and joins us from our Auckland Park studio. Mbongeni, it's certainly harrowing to get a gist of these numbers, certainly. Why don't you just give us a breakdown of what was said there by the Auditor General?
Well, Arabile, the most important thing to note about this particular report is that this is the last report of the current Auditor General, Kimi Makwetu. He has come to the end of his fixed-term 7-year contract. So he's going to be remaining in his post up until the end of this year, which is the end of December. And he has titled this particular report in a very telling manner, calling it "Not Much to Go Around, Yet Not the Right Hand of the Till." So it really paints a very bleak picture of fraud and corruption in most of the municipalities. He says fraud and corruption, irregular expenditure, has been picked up in 91% of the country's municipalities in the past financial year. That is up from 85% of municipalities that were found to have spent money unlawfully in the previous financial year. So things are getting worse in that regard. Also, he has found that 79%, that's virtually 80% of municipalities in the country at the moment, are in a bad financial state. Their financial health is not good. He says it's worrying and it requires intervention. In fact, a third of municipalities, 34%, he says, are in a vulnerable financial position, which means they could be facing collapse. And maybe these ones actually need government culture to appoint administrators for them, because he says they simply can't collect debt from consumers. So it's a very bleak picture. It paints a deteriorating picture of the finances of municipalities in the country at this stage. Lastly, to note as well, Mr. Makwetu says it's not that there is lack of money in municipalities. He says, in fact, there is enough money in municipalities for them to meet their obligations, to deliver services to communities. But the problem is the lack of oversight and accountability and proper financial management, which is giving rise to all these problems that are now worsening in municipalities. Arabile.
Yeah, Mbongeni, have we gotten a sense though of whether there's any effort at all? Is the AG feeling that there's any effort to put in the kind of measures that would at least look to arrest this? Now, we know it won't be immediate, but if you put those measures in, it begins to tell you a story that something is being done. Is the AG perhaps considering the fact that perhaps something is being done, the likes of these commissions that are perhaps helping somewhat, while that one may be on a national scale? Are municipalities getting into a similar kind of vein and a similar kind of route as well?
Well, it's clear that the AG is complaining bitterly here that all these issues that he's mentioning are not new. It's issues that he has constantly been picking up over the years during his tenure, pointing them out, and the authorities that are supposed to do something about this, make sure that there's accountability and there's consequence management for municipal managers and officials, have failed to bring that about. In fact, it's interesting that SALGA, the South African Local Government Association, has conceded to that point. In a statement that they've issued a short while ago, they admit that in fact they failed to hold municipal officials accountable. Another glaring example that he points out, Mr. Makwetu, of this is that the amount of money that municipalities spend on consultants just to prepare their financial statements for auditing by the Auditor General has gone up to 1.2 billion rand in the last financial year. In most cases, municipalities have hired consultants to prepare their financial statements when they do have officials in position who are employed to do the books for the municipalities. There are officials there who are paid to do it, but clearly they can't do the job, and they run and they hire consultants, spending millions of rand to pay them to do that work for them. So it's an indictment mainly on the political leadership at municipal level, SALGA, and maybe COGTA as well to an extent.
Yeah. Mbongeni Muthwa, really appreciate that. Thank you so much for your reporting on the AG's report there with regards to local municipalities and whether they're being run efficiently in any way for the 2018-2019 period. Financial controls continue to slip. That is the word from the Auditor General Kimi Makwetu there. So not inspiring at all, especially in a time of COVID-19 when South Africa needs every single penny right now.